This is your Danish English news updates and business from January 27th through February 3rd. Greetings and welcome to Danish-InfoNewsTv, your quick, reliable overview of the most important stories and business from Denmark. In today's update, Danish veterans protest Trump, a major MobilePay and MitID scam, misleading royal references in marketing, and a new agreement allowing vulnerable drug users to keep their drugs. Plus, the key business and society headlines you need to know, straight to the point. On the first of our main story, on January 31st, thousands of people joined a quiet demonstration march in Copenhagen, organized by Denmark's Veteraner, to support Danish veterans and protest Donald Trump's comments questioning the need for Danish soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. The march ended at the US Embassy, where 44 Danish flags placed to honor fallen soldiers had recently been removed, sparking national and international attention. In response, hundreds of new flags were raised, and the embassy confirmed they would remain, stressing no ill intent. Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen called the incident sad and unfortunate, but welcomed its resolution. To a different main story from Thursday, January 29th, MobilePay and MitID scam SMS. Scammers are sending increasingly sophisticated SMS messages and emails, pretending to be from MobilePay, claiming users must link their accounts to MitID to meet new security requirements. The messages appear credible and warn that accounts will be blocked if users do not comply. Clicking the links directs victims to fake websites that closely resemble MobilePay, MitID, and Danish bank login pages where users are asked to enter CPR numbers, phone numbers, MitID credentials, bank logins, and card details. The stolen data is typically sold on the criminal market as so-called false and can later be used in phone scams, with fraudsters impersonating the police or banks to trick victims into authorizing payments or transfers. Investigations have revealed that some Danish citizens have been inadvertently linked to the scam due to email spoofing. Authorities advise anyone who has shared personal information to contact their bank immediately. In another main story from Thursday, January 29th, Mønthuset, Denmark reported for misleading royal references. The Danish Consumer Ombudsman has filed a police report against Mønthuset, Denmark AS for marketing commemorative medals in a way that falsely suggests approval or cooperation with the royal family. The products include medals for royal weddings and the succession, featuring images, monograms, and titles closely resembling official royal insignia. According to the Ombudsman, Mønthuset failed to clearly inform consumers that the royal family neither was involved in or approved the products, potentially misleading buyers. The case highlights violations of Danish marketing law, which prohibits companies from implying official status or government endorsement in ways that could influence consumer decision. Still on Thursday, January 29th, vulnerable drug users can keep their drugs. The Danish government, together with SF and the Conservatives, has introduced dignity reform, giving severely addicted and socially vulnerable drug users the right to retain their drugs if stopped by police. The policy targets individuals with serious dependencies and chaotic life situations, aiming to reduce further marginalization and criminal behavior. Previously, under a 2024 rule, users could avoid punishment for possession of drugs for personal use but were still subjected to confiscation. Under the new reform, they can both avoid punishment and retain their substances, though police will intervene if quantities suggest resale. The government estimates around 12,000 people will benefit from the measure. Now to some other news. Wednesday, January 27th. 3 remanded for cocaine possession. 3 people in Helsinki were detained until February 10th for possession of 1 kilo of cocaine intended for resale. Man sentenced for sexual abuse. A 48-year-old man in Glostrup was sentenced to 3.5 years for sexually abusing a young girl. He denies the charges and has appealed. 2 women arrested for fraud, caught attempting to scam elderly residents in central Jutland. Man sentenced for stalking. 42-year-old given 3 months in prison for stalking, violating restraining orders, and assault. The hate crime coordinators announced that the government will appoint coordinators in all police districts to assist victims of violent hate crimes as part of the LGBTQ+ action plan. Romanian cars with stolen goods stopped. 3 cars intercepted in Helăsliu carrying 135 stolen items. 10 passengers charged. Attempted murder charge after McDonald's crash. 20-year-old charged for ramming car into Uden's restaurant, targeting an individual. Parliament approves new cyber strategy. 2026 to 2029 strategy with 211 million Danish krone initial funding and a 33 million Danish krone annually for cybersecurity improvements. Blood bank 6 donors. Aarhus Blood Bank calls for 3,600 new plasma donors to reduce dependence on US imports. Thursday, January 28th. European Council supports Greenland. Parliamentary Assembly passes resolution backing Greenland's territorial integrity. Police officer killed in motorway accident. 1 officer dies, another seriously injured in Aubenrot on slippery roads. A second crash occurs at the scene. Traffic accident on Amma. 4 injured, 1 hospitalized. 2 cars collide, causing conjunction. 3rd man remanded for nightclub stabbing, added to 2 already in custody for attempted murder of a bouncer in Copenhagen. 52-year-old dies in custody, arrested for 460 grams of amphetamine possession, scheduled hearing cancelled. Intelligence Service 6 hackers, Danish military intelligence recruiting for 5-month training in offensive cybersecurity. 20-year-old woman dies from fall. She likely fell off a cliff in Stevens. She was reported missing in the evening and her family was notified. Greenlandic newspaper wins Danish UNESCO award. Sermitsiak recognized for promoting democratic discourse. Friday, January 30th. 28-year-old jailed for ICE recruitment, sentenced to 5 years for being recruited and trained by ISIS to commit terror acts. 64-year-old woman sentenced for murder, received 10 years for stabbing her 75-year-old partner to death in Frederiksværk, November of 2024. 5 charged in Molotov cocktail case. Ages 22 to 25 linked to apartment fire in Vanløse on January 26. No injuries. 20-year-old jailed for sexual exposure, broke into an 18-year-old dorm room on Amma and exposed himself. Police warn about van break-ins. Approximately 20 reported in Fyn over 10 days. Thieves took tools and tablets. LifeX reported illegal room rentals. Frederiksberg municipality files a complaint over unauthorized property rentals. Nightlife zone in Jutland extended. Herning, Hulstebro and Silkeborg zones extended to February of 2028. Restrictions for offenders at night. Dow acknowledges delivery delays. Thousands of letters delayed since taking over from PostNord. Issues mainly with international mail sorting. Brands Vilko opens new support for abused children. Long-term anonymous counseling with the same advisor. 260,000 Danes paid off public debt in a year. About 500,000 still owe 108 billion Danish krona total. Saturday, January 31st. Denmark raises 100 million Danish krona for children in need. Denmark's Indsamling fundraising surpasses last year's 86 million Danish krona. Ukrainian woman jailed for stabbing partner. 4-week detention in Ranas after multiple knife stabs. 3 men jailed for prolonged kidnapping. Victim in his 50s held for hours. Suspects also charged with violence and extortion. Greenlandic defense training intake increased. Arctic base education to expand from 30 to 50 students from summer of 2026. Still in Greenland, documentary on Greenlandic children wins Robert Award. Min Klasse i Grønland honored. Foreign Ministry updates. Morocco travel advisory. Severe weather and flooding may disrupt transport and services. Police warn against walking on ice. Copenhagen lakes are not yet safe. Lack of concussion rehab services in municipalities. 65% report demand, only 39% can refer. Fewer stores nationwide. 10% decline over 10 years, though retail jobs increased. Sunday, February 1st. 27-year-old charged with hiding drugs in deodorant, cocaine and MDMA seized at Skjoldhøj College, Aarhus. Christiania may face financial impact. Rent board ruling could reduce residents' contributions to services. Pharmacy hotline opens. Staff and relatives can call 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. for medication guidance. New missile batteries deployed. Korsør and Frederikshavn locations for Danish coastal defense and infrastructure monitoring. News from Monday, February 2nd. 8 initiatives to protect politicians and families. Police can relocate demonstrations near private homes. Unauthorized contact of relatives is now punishable. Man jailed for crimes against 14 underage girls. 28-year-old sentenced to 2.5 years for grooming, indecent exposure, and coercion via Snapchat. 26-year-old jailed for killing childhood friend, sentenced to 12 years and deportation, has appealed. 51-year-old employee convicted for sexual activity with resident, 3-month suspended sentence and banned from care work. 26-year-old guilty of knife murder, victim stabbed multiple times in Groft Højparken, Viby, June of 2024. 2 teens critically injured in Greenland, snowmobile crash. Ages 15 and 16 found after initially reported missing. 4 youth charged with whole burglary in Esbjerg, age 14 to 17, prior increased police presence led to breakthrough. Go More ends carpooling future. Platform will focus on car rentals instead. German tourists fined for fire in holiday area, approximately 3,000 Danish krona after throwing grill ashes, igniting dry grass. 19 were fined and received license points for speeding in Fredericia. 143 speeding vehicles were detected, and 3 cases were classified as reckless driving. Odense considers evicting tenants linked to gangs. After apartment explosion, authorities explore law changes. New grief support for bereaved parents. Special therapy is offered within 48 hours for parents losing children under 25. 51 municipalities criticized for Google use in schools. Datatilsynet finds insufficient protection of students' personal data. Fitness chain removes GHD machines nationwide. SATS temporarily pulls machines after serious injury in Norway. Dow has received 15,000 complaints since the new postal takeover. Over 7 million letters handled. Tax return date set. Annual report due to March 23rd of 2026. Information submission extended to May 20th. Tuesday, February 3rd. Large opioid smuggling case. Two men aged 20 and 46 arrested for smuggling more than 50,000 opioids. The older suspect faces a detention hearing, while the younger has been released. Bad joke triggers major surge. Police launch a large rescue operation after a rollator was placed at Odense harbor to simulate a drowning. It was later confirmed as a prank. 400,000 Danish krone fine for illegal advertising. E-cigarette company ProDamp fine for covert online advertising via paid articles and links, violating tobacco advertising laws. Construction halted by extreme cold. Skill and Lake and entrepreneur sent 20 workers home as frost made construction work impossible. Copenhagen streets named after Ukrainian cities. 7 new streets in Nohaun will carry names such as Kiev, Mariupol, and Odessa in solidarity with Ukraine. Direct Aalborg-London flights return. Norwegian reopens the route with 2 weekly departures starting April 2nd. Media group closes newspapers. Zelensky Media shuts 4 weekly papers and lays off staff across departments. Hormone therapy backed by experts. Medical specialists conclude hormone treatment is the most effective relief for menopause symptoms such as hot flashes and insomnia. Now to some Danish business news from January 28th through February 3rd. Sailing drops chipped. New supermarket concept closes February 8th due to high rent and low foot traffic. Corporate tax near record. Danish firms paid 112 billion Danish kroner in 2024, the second highest ever. Manufacturing, finance, and insurance led. Pandora shares jump, stock up by approximately 5% as falling silver prices reduce material costs. Danske Bank lowers mortgage costs. Young buyers get 3.59% variable rates. Fixed rate loan fees cut for all. Demand job cuts. The cost-saving plan targets 500 million Danish kroner, affecting approximately 700 jobs globally and 150 in Denmark. New credit cuts loan costs. Total Credit lowers fees on interest-only fixed-rate loans for all customers from April 1st. Realkredit Denmark reported watchdog flags faulty property valuation causing over-mortgaging in approximately 120 cases. Ørsted sells Landwind assets, exits European onshore wind in 10.7 billion Danish kroner deal with CIP. Net company growth, revenue up by 20.7%, driven by SDC acquisition. Copenhagen Airport record, 2.2 million passengers in January, up by 14% year-on-year. That's today's overview from Danish-InfoNewsTv. For more clear summaries, context, and the stories that matter, subscribe, like, and share to stay informed. Thanks for watching and see you next time.